Hi everybody, welcome to 2025. In this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my forthcoming book, What Lies Beyond, which is due for publication in May 2025 and is now available on Amazon for pre-order. I'm also going to tell you a little bit about why I wrote the book, and finally a little bit about what to expect on the Substack in the coming year. So, why did I write What Lies Beyond? And this was actually the result of the convergence of two obsessions, really, over the last few years. So the first one was a growing consciousness that humanity, or specifically industrial consumer civilization, was screwing up big time in terms of dealing with major problems like climate breakdown, but also the sixth extinction. And this was sort of exacerbated by things like the rise of extreme politics, but also extreme weather events and things like the rapid melting of the ice caps, etc. So a growing consciousness of this situation led me to start rethinking some basic assumptions that I'd held for perhaps most of my adult life, but also assumptions that seem to underlie the problems that we were experiencing. And so this, you could almost say, is problems with the underlying base code of civilization. So some of those assumptions that we were making, I thought, were contributing to these problems. Now, at the same time, for the last 5 years, I've been teaching on a course called Approaches to Consciousness. And one of the primary things we look at in that course is how our assumptions and worldviews shape how we approach the mystery and problem of consciousness. And there's lots of splits, but there's one particular big split which I thought was particularly important. So that's the split between people who think that consciousness is somehow entirely generated by the brain or maybe the body, and those who think that consciousness is somehow fundamental. And so we look at controversies, and one of the controversies we touch on a little bit, although in the course specifically not too much, is the controversy over things like psychic phenomena or psi phenomena. Now, these are things like telepathy, clairvoyance, precognition, psychokinesis, the stock in trade of parapsychology. There's another set of controversies too, which is over what are known as transpersonal or mystical experiences. And these are experiences where there's a shift in consciousness, so people might feel a deep vitality or meaning and purpose in the universe, and deep interconnectedness. And these sorts of experiences have particularly come to mainstream attention because of the psychedelic revival, because psychedelics like psilocybin or DMT seem to be able to induce these sorts of mystical experience. So again, you've got a split in philosophy, really, between people who think that these can be explained in terms of brain function, and those who think essentially that psychedelics retune the brain so you can experience broader realities. Now, because of these controversies, and I haven't mentioned the controversies over parapsychology, but they're very entrenched again. So you have parapsychologists and psi advocates who believe that the evidence is good or good enough to say that these things really occur. But then across the abyss, you have skeptics who absolutely think that the evidence is weak, there's not enough replication, and that a lot of these experiences can better be explained in terms of sort of human cognitive errors, essentially, or hallucinations, imagination, etc. So while writing this book, I tried to keep these big splits in mind. And although you'll read that I tend to come very tentatively, actually, down on one side or the other in a lot of these controversies, my intention with What Lies Beyond is really exploration rather than dictating or sort of just saying what I think. So what I try and do is lay out some possibilities. So it's for anyone really who's feeling a bit confused and lost by the current moment, who wants also to rethink these basic assumptions. So if that appeals, then like I said, the book is available for pre-order right now. But if you're not sure, I have an accompanying Substack that includes some blogging. So there are some essays and further thoughts, but it's also the site of my What Lies Beyond podcast, conversations on consciousness science, the paranormal, and the post-material future. Because I think that's basically what I'm looking to do. I'm trying to map out alternative paths to more humane and human-centered futures. And really, I'm still exploring, I think, how that could happen, what kind of worldview we really do or might think in the long run is going to be plausible, but also will help with things like the ecological crisis and climate breakdown, but also our responses to that. Because I think, and I'll finish with this, that I think a fundamental issue that I've noticed, these controversies aside, is that life in industrial consumer societies not only has a tendency of making us sick, I mean physically sick, so I'm talking chronic illness, but also seems to drain a sense of meaning and purpose from a lot of people. So I'm not just thinking meaning and purpose as in, oh, I have a job as, I don't know, professor or helicopter pilot or whatever. Wonderful though those things are. But it's what's my intrinsic purpose and worth in the universe. And that's exactly, by the way, why I think things like transpersonal and mystical experiences are important, because meaning and purpose are central to those sorts of experiences. So basically, if that's your cup of tea, like, subscribe, and welcome aboard for 2025.